Budda Baker, 3-year contract extension. Craig Morgan had it first just a couple of days ago that they had begun conversations, and they have been fortified today. 3 years, $54 million, according to Adam Schefter. $18 million per year is the largest third contract for a safety in NFL history. Budda has officially bucked the safety trend, and this almost secures him as a lifetime Arizona Cardinal. He will turn 29 this offseason. This contract will take him well into his early 30s. Budda Baker, who famously asked for a trade request last offseason after JG was hired, bided his time, just like James Conner, let his play do the talking. Budda Baker now amongst the wealthiest safeties in the NFL remains. What does that mean for Jalen Thompson, Taylor Demerson? We'll find out down the line, but your reaction, Bo Brock, to the breaking news here on a football Tuesday, loaded football Tuesday, Budda Baker staying in Arizona for at least 3 more seasons.
Yeah, I think the writing was absolutely on the wall. It kind of materialized, obviously, with the season that Budda Baker was having, how he kind of endured himself post-trade request to Gannon and his staff and vice versa. But once James Conner got extended, you realize that Monti Ossenfort, Jonathan Gannon, even Michael Bidwill were committed to not letting talented players who were productive leave this organization. They realize that they're on the verge of something special as a franchise, and they understand the role that Budda Baker has played to get him to this point, and they want to see it through with the likes of Budda Baker and James Conner. So we're locked up in the form of a 3-year, $30 million deal with the Cardinals, more than enough money to facilitate that, and then some to add talent, even more so on the defensive side of the football. It's great news. It's nice to see that the Arizona Cardinals were able to kind of buck the trend as far as what's going on as far as the position league wide. We saw, some mainstays across the NFL, and Justin Simmons and Jesse Bates, and guys just have to go find new homes. And the Cardinals saw a guy that they felt like, hey, we don't want to risk him hitting the open market and leaving. So we're just going to make sure that we're going to lock him up pretty much to the extent that would say Budda Baker is a Cardinal for life.
You had to make this move, and I was of the mindset earlier this year, they drafted Taylor Demerson, they have Jalen Thompson. He's an aging player. He doesn't intercept passes. And then with the time that we spent with Budda under JG, this became almost a damn near mandate. I want to welcome everybody coming over from our streaming partners to GoPHNX.com. You're jumping over from TV to GoPHNX.com. We welcome you. Become a diehard today. Got almost 1,000 people watching live. Hit that like button. We like what we see from Monti Ossenfort. He extended a running back who's 28 and a safety who's 29, and the fan base doesn't blink an eye because that's what James Conner and now Budda Baker mean to this franchise. Budda Baker, to me, has to retire an Arizona Cardinal. You watch his play this year, it is trending up. It is not trending down. The fact that this defense has so grossly overachieved despite personnel deficiencies, specifically in the front seven, I think strengthened Budda Baker's case. You talk about it. He is there every single game for a defense that really has carried this team to a 500 record that has overachieved. This defense since week 6, 17.9 points per game. They had a streak where they didn't allow a touchdown at home for over 4 games. That's all spearheaded by number 3. Just because he doesn't have the splash plays, he's calling the defense. He is in center field along with Kazir White. That means more than any singular statistics that they could come up with. When the Arizona Cardinals fired Cliff Kingsbury, it was Budda Baker begging and pleading this locker room to meet him at his standards. Remember that on Hard Knocks, November and December of 2022. You fast forward now 2 years, Budda Baker, despite his trade request, because all he wanted to do was be paid and win, well, he's helping the Cardinals win now, and he deserves to be paid. Again, I'm happy to sit up here and say I was wrong. I didn't think this was going to get done earlier in the year. Sometimes in life, you just have to force the issue. You have to make people see the value that you bring, and Budda Baker brings that every single day. And if you want to continue on this upward trajectory, Bo Brock, as a franchise, allowing players, franchise icons like Tyrann Mathieu and Patrick Peterson and Calais Campbell, you can't let these guys leave. You have to make things right. And Monti Ossenfort, unlike Steve Keim, is doing that today with Budda Baker.
Yeah, and like some of those guys you mentioned, Budda Baker transcends the playing field as far as what we saw when this team was a sinking ship and dysfunction was all around, but it wasn't in the Cardinals safety room. It wasn't in their defensive, secondary. It wasn't in their locker room in the form of number 3, Budda Baker. He was the guy that was preaching all the good habits that you need to have in order to play winning football. He was a winning football player on bad teams that didn't realize the opportunity that they had. I'm reminded of his speech, his passionate speech on Hard Knocks. And it was the only thing that, outside of JJ Watt on that team that you could really kind of be proud of from their appearance on that show. Otherwise, it was just disastrous. It was a punchline. Budda Baker is far from it. And, for him to survive, the safety market and what it went through and the NFL trying to correct that as far as what they view as premium positions and what they don't, I think that Budda Baker did, his job and improving his value to this organization in, almost 2 seasons time now. Like as soon as he got past the trade request and he got in the walls and got onto the grass and showed what he's capable of, on the practice field, on the playing field, in the weight room, in the locker room, Jonathan Gannon probably was like, hey man, you can't let 3 leave. And it's a great day to be a Cardinals fan. You don't have a whole lot of these wins. Sure, there's Larry Fitzgerald, but for Budda Baker now, it's exciting to think about. Hey, you got somebody that you can proudly rep their jersey for generations now, and you don't have like one of those weird moments where he goes and spends the season with the Patriots or with the Jets or whoever, the Carolina Panthers, whoever's willing to pay the highest check amount.
If you have kids, if you aspire to play in the NFL, if you play the game of football and you watch a 5'10", 190-pound safety out of the Pac Northwest play the game, he just does everything that you want. He's a 2-time first-team All-Pro. I think he should be an All-Pro this year. He's on pace to make his 6th straight Pro Bowl. He's got 7 now if he makes it this year, 2017 and then 2019 through 2023. And again, his name should be hanging up in the Ring of Honor. We should be talking about him as a potential Hall of Fame candidate. And again, when you see great players leave this franchise and have success elsewhere, Aeneas Williams, right? I mentioned Tyrann Mathieu winning a Super Bowl with Kansas City. Patrick Peterson, it didn't end well. Calais Campbell had a lot left on the tires. Anquan Bolden going to a Super Bowl with San Francisco, winning one with Baltimore. I think Monti Ossenfort knows the value. I mean, we talk about it. Monti Ossenfort understands premium positions, but he also has the pulse of the fan base and specifically, more importantly, the locker room and the coaching staff. I get this guy's a safety. I get James Conner as a running back. They're just too valuable to what we do. We have too much momentum now. I mean, like, you can make an argument. Taylor Demerson's more athletic and he's younger and he's cheaper. But is he Budda Baker? Hell no, right? That's a conversation for a different day. What do you do with Jalen Thompson now? Here's what you couldn't do. You couldn't start off-field workouts this offseason without number 3 and number 6 in your building. It would just be too much. And is that damning on Kyler Murray and some of the other players? I don't know. I don't think that that's fair. I think that James Conner is an all-time signee, and Budda Baker is one of the greatest draft picks in the history of this franchise. And it would have been an indictment of the people involved. Like, again, I don't want to sit here and knock Steve Keim because this is a celebratory day. But this shows you when you've got a smart football person running your operations department, even though Budda Baker came out and was like, hey, trade me. And I'm sure that rubbed Michael Bidwell the wrong way. They have enough now of confidence in themselves and the product that they've created to say, you know what, we're okay with that because he's consistently shown up for this franchise. He was hurt last year. He battled through injuries. He's come back this year. We had question marks about it at 28. He's played every game. He plays every game with his hair on fire. Brian Baldinger, frequent guest on this podcast. He is an invaluable piece to the Arizona Cardinals, and now hopefully he's a lifetime Cardinal, Bo.
It's a beautiful thing. It really is. And to your point, as far as navigating that off season, getting to that point where you can't find common ground with negotiations, and then like you make the mistake like we saw in Full Display, bringing up Hard Knocks again with the Giants and someone like Saquon Barkley, another player at a kind of undervalued position, and they rolled the dice, and it's a disaster. And it could have been a disaster for Monti Ossenfort crew, but what they saw week in and week out, day in and day out, is the value that they get from Budda Baker in so many different areas of the organization, including the impact on the field. Like Budda Baker, like is putting on a masterclass this year as far as the study time he puts in. Like where you're seeing a guy diagnose pre-snap and put himself in a position to make a play before the ball's even snapped, and it's really impressive for somebody the position that he's playing, and it's showing on tape to Monti Ossenfort. Like, okay, where's this guy's value? Oh, I see it play in and play out, and it's great. It's well deserved, and it's the Arizona Cardinals here now with Connor and Budda in the fold. You know now they can put themselves in a position to finish the season strong from their respective spots, and hopefully there's some wins to be had, but it's a win kind of going in a win before the offseason.
How do you feel like this could? Do you think this makes a difference ahead of this weekend's game? Do you feel like this it certainly gets the fan base excited, but can this have a carryover effect to the rest of this year for the Arizona Cardinals, who, I mean, let's call spade a spade. They're 3 wins away likely from winning the NFC West. Can this get them over the hump?
I mean, Budda's been playing good football for this team, great football for this team ever since he got here in 2017. Obviously, it takes everybody in every phase of an NFL game to produce. But I don't think that you have no reason to believe that Budda's not going to do his job when it comes to this Sunday or the upcoming Saturday in prime time against the Rams.
Here's what it also does, and I think this is underscored. It would be difficult to go to, I think, marquee free agents and say, hey, we're serious about winning. And they look at you and say, well, you just let Budda Baker leave. You just let Budda Baker walk out your door. And if you're trying to court, I don't know, a Hassan Reddick or somebody in free agency to come play with JG and Nick Rallis and Kyler Murray, and it's like, hey, we got Budda Baker back. He's locked in. We have a clear identity of where we're trying to go as a franchise. You don't re-sign Budda and James Conner and think to yourself, yeah, we're still rebuilding. No, these are players that are going to hopefully help you win your first NFC West championship since 2015 and to have prolonged postseason success. I think this is a commitment to winning. I think that money is very serious. And I think that it also sends a message of all the future draft picks, of the Dariuses and the Marvins and the Paris Johnson Jr.'s, like, you play well here, you achieve the highest of heights like Budda Baker, we will take care of you. We will not spit on your reputation. We're not going to have contract disputes that go up in flames, a la Anquan Bolden, just because we have another great receiver. You're going to be rewarded for second and third contracts, no matter the position. I think that's a great sentiment and a great reputation for Monti Ossenfort to carry over. Like it or not, Steve Keim was a cancer on this organization, and a lot of free agents did not want to come here. And what did we hear last offseason when a lot of people came on this show, people in the chat saying, well, the Cardinals can't secure free agents. They have a bad reputation. The hell they do. Right now, you're going to be able to go with the best possible sales pitch. We're trying to win, and we've got a bunch of money to spend, and we just got our best safety back, our best defensive player back for 3 years, $48 million. So it sends all the right messages. If you're an Arizona Cardinal fan, everything you want to see this franchise do. Slowly but surely, they're starting to figure it out.
Yeah, a draft and develop team that's going to, when they have talented players on their team, they're going to retain them. They're going to do everything within their power to retain them, and it's not going to be an ugly public negotiation. So it is. Those were 2 guys that we had a lot of discussions about going into the final years of their deals. We're like, does it make sense? Looking at the landscape in the NFL and what teams are valuing and what they're not valuing. But the Cardinals are making it very clear what they value, and it's productive football players with high leadership qualities, like James Conner and Budda Baker, and it's they're producing at a high level, and it's like James is 27 yards away from 1,000 yards rushing for a second consecutive year at age 29. He gets a 2-year, $19 million deal, and then you've got Budda Baker, who's 5 tackles away from matching his career high that he had a couple of years ago at 147. He's going to surpass that, and you got him locked up for the next 3 years. You just have, one of your surest tacklers and guys that's out there kind of captaining the defense that you can just say, hey, we just set it for the next 3 years and we can forget it, and he can just go out there and play like he has since 2017.
I don't think you could be serious about going to war with San Francisco when they rebound next year, or Stafford as long as he's in LA. Certainly the Seattle, what they've got going on without Budda Baker. Like in this division, you can screw around in the AFC South and the NFC South and some of these divisions with not great ownership and not great players. The NFC West, like the NFC North now, it's a who's who of coaches and personnel. Trent Williams and Nick Bosa and DK Metcalf and Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua. The Cardinals can talk about draft and develop, and I hope Taylor Demerson is the next Budda Baker. But the likelihood of that is probably not great, right? So when you find these players, you need to take care of these franchise icons as long as they continue to you continue to reap the benefits of that. Like people use the term war daddy. That's what Budda Baker is. You cannot allow a guy that sets the tone each and every Sunday to leave, because it makes you vulnerable. It makes you look weak as a franchise. It's like the same argument we had with Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, I would rather take Marvin Harrison Jr. and be wrong about a generational prospect if it doesn't work out. I'm no way saying that that's not going to work out. I would rather re-sign Budda Baker at 28 years old and then be wrong the back end of the contract, like, oh, maybe that didn't age well, than to watch Budda Baker go to Kansas City, go to maybe the LA Rams or someplace like that, the Buffalo Bills, and win a Super Bowl. Like, I've seen that too many times. Aeneas Williams, Tyrann Mathieu, O.J. Anderson in the early 90s with the New York Giants. I'm tired of having my franchise be represented that way. And apparently so is Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon. Because I'm going to tell you right now, James Conner, and we were told this, was the priority coming into the season. What he represented, the kind of stalwart he's been, frankly, the kind of money that he wouldn't demand at the running back position. The Budda Baker thing has been forced by one player and one player alone, and that's number 3. And I'm glad it caught everybody off guard in the best possible way. To the Cardinals, JG and Ossenfort, Nick Rallis sitting down is like, we cannot let this guy leave. There's no bigger endorsement of a player than maybe when you're not in their long-term plans and they take a 4th-round safety and they've got Jalen Thompson making $15 million. It's like, nope, don't forget about me. I'm here to kick ass and take names. I'm the best you got. And certainly this contract would represent that.